For my final project, I chose to focus on fashion among high school girls. So I chose this topic because I have a lot of personal experience with it. I can remember being in high school and feeling like fashion was a huge part of the way that my identity was shaped and a huge part of the world around me. Today, I spend a good deal of time with high school girls, mentoring them at Cumberland Valley High School. And I've noticed that the same thing is true for a lot of them, that fashion is a big part of how they understand the world and how they understand their place in the world as it's being shaped during these high school years. So I did my final project in the format of a photo journal, and I got to sit down and talk with and take photos of 10 high school girls and just see the way that they express themselves through fashion. One of the main things that I found through this project was that fashion is a huge part of the world of high school girls. Even girls who don't care about fashion and wear, t-shirts and jeans every day still admit that they feel a good amount of pressure from people around them and from social media and from all of these different influences. They feel pressure to dress a certain way and to look a certain way and feel judged if they don't quite measure up. So like I said, I was interviewing girls from Cumberland Valley High School, so they were mostly middle class suburban girls, and they feel like they have pressure to dress for certain audiences. So whenever you're in high school, you can probably remember that you're around people all day long, so there's a lot of room for comparison. The main places where people say they're pulling fashion from in high school is from the people around them. So just looking at what their peers are wearing and evaluating whether or not they measure up to what's around them. So some high school girls just want to fit in with that, kind of want to blend in or go with the trends that everybody else is wearing. And then other girls found their identity through rejecting that and through not wearing what other people are wearing. And that sort of rebellion, as we've talked about in class, can be just as big a part of how your fashion identity is formed as it would be through adhering to certain fashion trends. So that was definitely true for the high school girls that I talked to. A lot of them kind of struggled to find their identity within wanting to rebel, but also wanting to be in line with the fashion culture of high school. So the way that this played out is that pretty much every high school girl who I talked to said that they just wanted to feel comfortable in the way that they were dressing, but a lot of times felt limited to that because they felt like if they just wore sweatpants and t-shirts and what they wanted to wear to school every day, they would be judged for that. So what's kind of formed from that, I saw this in two girls in particular, Reagan and Linda, who when I asked them to wear what they considered to be their trendiest outfit, both wore just leggings and sort of a fashionable top, which I think shows this convergence of comfort culture while still giving into the culture of fashion and of trendiness during high school. They couldn't just wear sweatpants, so leggings are kind of this happy medium where girls feel this need to still dress nicely while wanting to stick with what they want to wear. Another way that I saw identity being expressed through fashion in this project was through gender identity. A lot of girls are understanding what it means in America to be a woman during this time, are really asking those questions, and that's being solidified for a lot of girls. So whenever I told them that I would be taking their pictures, every single girl, for the most part, wore makeup, which I think is really interesting because that's a big part of gender expression for high school girls. That's a big part of fashion expression. And the girls who didn't wear makeup kind of made this statement to say gender expression is either not important or that they had enough confidence to step outside of that. Another way that girls expressed gender in this project was through what they were physically wearing. A couple of girls wore skirts. They wore floral or printed shirts that had sort of traditionally girly colors. A couple of girls wore jewelry as a big part of their outfits to express their gender, and the way that they did their hair was a big part of gender expression as well. Another identity that was formed through fashion during these years is class identity. We've talked a lot about this in our class at school, but I think girls don't necessarily know when they're in high school that they're doing this or know how to identify it, but it's still a huge part of the way that they're dressing. There's a huge sense of the haves and the have-nots among high school girls as they look around and see the people who have access to certain brands, to certain trends. That creates this culture of leaders and followers. So the people who have access to those things, who have money to spend on their clothes, and the people who are buying clothes from secondhand stores and from stores like Ross or TJ Maxx and might not have the access to the big brand, the big labels that other students have. Another place in high school where this culture of leaders and followers and haves and have-nots is being created is through age identity. So senior girls feel a lot of pressure sometimes to be the leaders of the school. A really good example of this was through my friends Addie and Alyssa. Addie is a senior and expressed this idea that as a senior, she feels like more than ever she has to dress a certain way because she knows that she's being looked up to. Alyssa is a freshman, and you can see the influence that Addie has on Alyssa indirectly. The two of them are not really good friends, but Addie, who is sort of a popular girl in her high school, has an influence on girls like Alyssa every day because of the style choices that she's making. So you can really see the way that age identity is being formed and the way that that is kind of trickling down, just like other forms of identity do in the world of fashion. The last thing that I saw through this was that we form relationships through fashion and through how we identify with the people around us. And this is absolutely true in high school too. Two girls, Caroline and Kenna, both told me how they became friends through their stylistic choices and through seeing what the other one was wearing. Their relationship started and was formed because they felt like they had things in common based on fashion. So in conclusion, what I found in this project is that fashion is a huge part of the lives of high school girls. Sometimes it's for better, sometimes it's for worse, but overall they really feel like they can't escape it and it's a big part of their identities.